on hiring and then continue to move forward with that, Cindy Warner and Josh Norman are going to take us through their journey. If they'd like to come join us, and you can have those resources available.
Good morning. Good morning. As Pam said, we are from District 108. My name is Cindy Warner, and I'm the principal of Scott Altman Primary School, and this is Josh Norman, and he's the assistant principal at Washington Intermediate School, and he will soon be the principal of Scott Altman School as I'm retiring at the end of this year. So.
The first thing that we're going to talk about is going to be the standardization of our personnel system. And what we're going to look at there is how we align our hiring procedures to match Danielson's frame. What we wanted to do is we didn't want to have three separate systems. We wanted to have one system that aligns together with some of the procedures and processes that we have in place.
Okay, these really are our 5 crucial systems that we put in place. And it really took us a journey of about 10 years to really come to this place in time. About 10 years ago, we became a professional development site. University and our district liaison used the Danielson framework to evaluate these student teachers. And so about 8 years ago, when we decided that we needed to build an induction plan, a 4-year induction plan, we said, they use Danielson, why shouldn't we incorporate that into our new teacher induction program? And so that's what we did. And also through the induction program, we developed a mentoring program. And from there, we developed our standardized hiring practices. And that was along about 05, 06 that we really began to look at that. Of course, the heart and soul of any system is professional development. And so we had professional development going throughout all of this. After we had the hiring piece in place, then we went for the evaluation piece, which was the major thing. By the time we got to that place where we were negotiating the contract, our new teachers all knew the Danielson framework because they had been exposed to it through the induction program. And many of our new hires were ISU interns, and so they had been exposed to it. So we had a body of people who really understood the framework, or at least had been exposed to it. This is what we call our formula for success, and we feel that if we use the Danielson framework in our hiring process, we use it in our induction process, we use it in our mentoring process, and our evaluation process, with that professional development sprinkled in throughout, we create effective teachers. We feel that we have been successful in doing that, and we have some data to prove that. And we believe if we have effective teachers, then we have engaged learners. Along about 05, 06, our superintendent said, you know, we're all over the waterfront the way principals hire teachers. And he became a little uncomfortable with that. And he said, you know, I really think we ought to have a standardized process because we could be opening ourselves up to litigation. The team was formed, and they began to meet and talk about really what they wanted in place, what kinds of process they wanted. All of those flow charts were developed. Also at that time, they developed what we call a screening tool, and it really worked with our application process. We have an online application process, as I'm sure you all do. We added a couple of questions that we asked the applicants to respond to in writing, and they were questions relating to instruction that really we crafted from the Danielson framework. And so we created this screening tool, and it has about 5 levels. It's really a rubric, and it addresses things like academic performance, letters of recommendation, leadership, those kinds of really things, high points that we look at when we're looking at applications. The next step was to develop some kind of tool to be used during the interview process. So we developed a radar diagram that we used, and this was done according to how the applicants during the interview process answered the questions. But the whole administrative team met and developed really a bank of questions. And these banks, the bank of questions that we developed related directly to the Danielson framework. So we had questions around planning, we had questions around classroom environment, we had questions around instruction that related to the framework directly. Where's the target? What's the target we want to hit? Once we define those things, then we developed the radar diagram, and that's where the administrative team, or I'm sorry, the interview team, which consisted always of administrators and teachers. That team then used the radar after each applicant was interviewed to rate them according to how they had answered the question. As we were developing this standardized approach, there was some professional development given to the team, to the teachers. The administrators already had some professional development, but the teachers really needed that development as well, so they understood what the target was. Long about that time, our HR person said, boy, I need to look at the job descriptions, and I think we're moving in a different direction, and I think they maybe look a little different. So she began the task of redefining those job descriptions, so again, they were aligned then with the Danielson framework. We put this process in place. We feel pretty successful with it because our teachers, by and large, that we're hiring are turning out to be exactly what we decided we needed: a 4-year induction plan. And so the first 2 years of that plan are pretty heavily laden with a lot of professional development for the new hires. And the first year, we really begin exposing through monthly meetings, district monthly meetings with the district person, really what we call enculturating our new hires into our district. We also, during that first year, begin to introduce them to the Danielson framework. We developed a mentoring system. And actually, the HR person, Linda Harris, and myself were Danielson trainers at that point. And so what we did is there were a lot of teachers retiring at that time. We had a boatload of teachers going out each year. So we looked at our retired teacher list, and we selected a handful of these teachers, and we brought them in, and we trained them in the Danielson mentoring process. And they became mentors for our new hires. When we trained the retired teachers, we said, now remember, you have no contact with the principal, because your observation and the evaluative observation that the principal is doing are two completely different things. And we told them, we don't even want you to even talk to the principal. When you enter that building, just wait and go by. But we developed that mentoring program that supported the new hires right back in the classroom, and that proved to be successful. We now do not have the retired teachers any longer. We have district people who do that mentoring for our new hires. We still have our induction program very similar to what it looked like several years ago. And this year we are training a person from each building to be a building coach. And that coach then will assume the duties next year of supporting our new hires.
When I came into administration my first year, we were still underneath our old evaluation system. And to be honest with you, it was kind of difficult for me because everybody did their own thing. At the time, actually, my principal was Pam Rosa. So anyway, I don't even think she's in the building.
Smile, no, I want you.
Okay, Pam. The following year, my second year, was when we implemented the Danielson framework. And it was very nice for me because it was easier for me to look and go into a classroom and say, this is what I expect teachers to be doing in the classroom around the frameworks. So for example, I would go in and I could be looking at their classroom environment or domain 3, the instruction. And I knew exactly what to look for. But what I really noticed was not just did I know what I should be going in and looking for, the conversations that the teacher and I had was tremendously improved because they knew the expectations too. Moved to the new evaluation system, spent a lot of time just in conversation. And when you had that conversation, you started to build the relationship and the trust among the teachers, and they became more reflective around what they needed to do to grow as a teacher. And what I always say is, no matter what, the conversation was the biggest piece there that really helped us with our evaluation system. Finally, when we do our professional development in our district, we always, once again, look back to Danielson's framework. Because if you look at any of the domains, they tell you what teachers should be doing. Most of our professional development is obviously around domain 3, instruction. And what we've tried to do is to align our systems so when we offer professional development, it links right back into domain 3. And this is kind of what our district has developed here, kind of aligning our whole system is we want to develop a learning community where we can grow our expert classroom teachers around research-based practices so that we can eventually have engaged learners.